Japanese Imperial Army engineers had spent 3 years perfecting bunker designs they believed were impenetrable fortresses, reinforced concrete walls, interlocking fields of fire, ventilation systems that could withstand artillery bombardment. What happened when American flamethrower units reached these defensive positions in the Pacific would shatter every tactical doctrine the Japanese military had developed since 1941, transforming their greatest strength into an inescapable death trap. February 19, 1945. Iwo Jima, Volcanic Islands. Sergeant Takeshi Yamamoto crouched inside Bunker Complex 312 North, a reinforced concrete fortification buried 8 feet beneath volcanic rock on the slopes of Mount Suribachi. He had overseen the construction of this position himself over 14 months, walls 3 feet thick, multiple escape tunnels, firing ports designed to resist direct naval bombardment. The bunker housed 32 soldiers and had stockpiles sufficient for 3 months of siege warfare. Through the narrow observation slit, Yamamoto watched American Marines advancing across the black sand beaches below. He felt confidence, not fear. His training manual, Defensive Fortification Standards for Island Warfare, published by the Imperial Army Engineering Command in July 1943 and currently archived at the National Institute for Defense Studies in Tokyo, had been explicit. Properly constructed bunkers could withstand sustained artillery fire, aerial bombardment, and infantry assault indefinitely. What Sergeant Yamamoto could not see, what no amount of engineering expertise had prepared him for, was the 4-man team approaching his position carrying M2-2 flamethrowers, each loaded with 70 pounds of napalm-thickened fuel capable of projecting flame for 40 yards. For Sergeant Yamamoto and the 21,060 Japanese soldiers defending Iwo Jima between February and March 1945, the collision between tactical doctrine and technological reality began not with the sound of explosions, but with something far more primal, the roar of igniting fuel and the realization that their fortress had become their tomb. Expectation versus reality. According to declassified records from the U.S. Marine Corps Historical Division, preserved at the National Archives in College Park, Maryland, American forces first deployed portable flamethrowers in the Pacific Theater during the Guadalcanal Campaign in 1942. However, early models were unreliable, with limited range of barely 15 yards and frequent mechanical failures. Japanese military intelligence had documented these early flamethrowers extensively. A captured intelligence report from the 32nd Army Headquarters on Okinawa, translated by Allied forces and catalogued as document CINCPACCINCPOA translation #47-1945, described American flamethrowers as short-range weapons of limited tactical value, primarily useful for clearing vegetation and creating psychological effects. The report concluded, flamethrowers cannot penetrate reinforced positions. Concrete fortifications with proper ventilation systems remain secure against flame attacks. Defenders should maintain position and return fire through designated ports. This assessment, distributed throughout Japanese Pacific garrisons in late 1943, would prove catastrophically incorrect. By 1944, American engineers had revolutionized flamethrower technology. The M2-2 model, introduced in September 1944 and documented in the U.S. Army Chemical Warfare Service Technical Manual TM3-375, represented a quantum leap in capability. Range increased from 15 yards to 40 yards. Fuel capacity doubled. Most critically, the introduction of napalm, a mixture of naphthenic and palmitic acids combined with gasoline, created a gel that burned at temperatures exceeding 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit and adhered to surfaces, continuing to burn even on wet or vertical surfaces. But the true lethality wasn't the flame itself. It was what happened inside enclosed spaces. The first encounter. Private First Class Hiroshi Nakamura, assigned to Bunker Complex 312 North under Sergeant Yamamoto's command, kept a diary that was recovered from his body by Marine Corpsman Thomas Riley on February 23, 1945. The diary, donated to the National Museum of the Marine Corps in Triangle, Virginia, provides a minute-by-minute account of the first flamethrower attack on their position. February 19, 1945, 1,340 hours, American infantry approaching. Sergeant Yamamoto ordered us to hold fire until optimal range. The bunker is secure. The Americans have no weapons that can penetrate our position. I am not afraid. 1,347 hours, strange weapon appeared. Looks like backpack with tube. Americans staying back, not approaching close. One Marine aims tube at our firing port. What is? The entry ends mid-sentence. The next page, partially burned, contains only, fire. Fire inside. Cannot breathe. Exit tunnel blocked by flames. Matsuda is screaming. Cannot breathe, cannot breathe, cannot breathe. According to the official after-action report filed by Captain Richard Morrison, commanding officer of Company E, 2nd Battalion, 28th Marines, the flamethrower assault on Bunker Complex 312 North lasted approximately 90 seconds. The flame stream, projected directly through the firing port, filled the interior chamber within seconds. But it wasn't the flame that killed most of the occupants. It was the physics of combustion in enclosed spaces. Dr. James Chen, a chemical warfare specialist with the U.S. Army Chemical Corps who studied flamethrower effectiveness in Pacific bunker assaults, published his findings in the classified report Thermal Weapons Against Fortified Positions, Analysis of Pacific Theater Operations, 1944-1945, declassified in 1973 and now available at the U.S. Army Heritage and Education Center in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Dr. Chen's analysis was brutal in its clarity. When napalm flame enters an enclosed concrete bunker, it consumes oxygen at catastrophic rates, approximately 3,000 cubic feet of oxygen per minute for a typical M2-2 discharge. A standard Japanese bunker contained approximately 2,500 cubic feet of air. Within 15 to 20 seconds, oxygen levels dropped below sustainable levels. Within 45 seconds, carbon monoxide concentrations became lethal. Occupants who avoided direct flame contact still suffocated or died from carbon monoxide poisoning. The concrete walls designed to protect them instead trapped them in a chamber that functioned as a gas oven. The diary of Private Nakamura ends there, but Marine Corps records indicate all 32 occupants of Bunker Complex 312 North were found dead when Marines entered the position 3 hours later. Only 4 showed evidence of direct flame contact. The others had died from asphyxiation, their bodies unmarked except for the distinctive cherry-red skin discoloration characteristic of carbon monoxide poisoning. Bunker Complex 312 North was not an isolated incident. It was the first of hundreds. According to combat action reports compiled by the 4th and 5th Marine Divisions during the Iwo Jima campaign, flamethrower teams neutralized 896 fortified positions between February 19 and March 26, 1945. The average time to neutralize a bunker, 2 minutes. Average American casualties per bunker assault using flamethrowers, 1.3 Marines killed or wounded. Average casualties for bunker assaults using conventional explosives and infantry, 7.8 Marines killed or wounded. The statistics told a clear story. Flamethrowers had transformed bunker warfare from a grinding, casualty-intensive siege into a swift, methodical clearing operation. For Japanese defenders, each bunker assault followed the same horrifying pattern. Corporal Kenji Suzuki, captured on March 3, 1945, provided testimony to Marine intelligence officers that was recorded in interrogation transcript PIR 45-0847, archived at the National Archives. We heard the Marines approaching. We felt safe inside the concrete. Our orders were to hold position until death. Then we saw the flame tube pointing at our entrance. The flame came like, it did not stop. It poured in. Poured. Like water from a hose but burning water. Through the sealed port, through gaps we did not know existed. The fire spread across the floor like liquid. Everything it touched began burning. The heat came in waves. The air became wrong. Heavy. Hard to breathe. Men started coughing. Choking. Some fell down and did not get up. They were not burning. The fire had not reached them. But they fell down. We ran for the exit tunnel. But there was smoke in the tunnel. Black smoke. The men in front collapsed. I could not get past them. I turned back. The main chamber was full of smoke. I could not see. I could not breathe. I remember thinking, this is not how it was supposed to happen. The bunker was supposed to protect us. The interrogation transcript noted that Corporal Suzuki appeared deeply shocked, not merely by the assault itself but by the complete failure of his tactical doctrine to reflect reality. Quantifiable evidence. By the end of March 1945, when organized resistance on Iwo Jima finally ceased, the strategic impact of flamethrower warfare had become undeniable through cold statistical analysis. Marine Corps operational analysis documented the dramatic shift. Conventional assault methods. Average bunker neutralization time, 45 to 90 minutes. Average Marine casualties per bunker, 7.8 killed/wounded. Bunker reoccupation rate by enemy, 23%. Flamethrower assault methods. Average bunker neutralization time, 2 to 3 minutes. Average Marine casualties per bunker, 1.3 killed/wounded. Bunker reoccupation rate by enemy, 0%. Medical records provided equally stark evidence. According to post-battle casualty analysis by the 5th Marine Division Medical Battalion, 78% of Japanese casualties found in flame-attacked bunkers showed no external burns. The majority exhibited symptoms consistent with carbon monoxide poisoning. Average time from flame introduction to death, 2 to 4 minutes. Dr. Patricia Morgan, a Navy physician assigned to casualty analysis on Iwo Jima, recorded her observations in a medical journal entry dated March 30, 1945. The Japanese military invested enormous resources in constructing bunkers they believed were impenetrable. But they never anticipated a weapon that would turn their engineering success into a trap. The stronger they made their bunkers, the thicker the walls, the more enclosed the spaces, the more effective flamethrowers became. The very features designed to protect killed them. Cliffhanger, the question emerges. As March gave way to April and American forces prepared for the invasion of Okinawa, Japanese military command faced an unprecedented crisis. News from Iwo Jima had spread through Pacific garrisons despite attempts at censorship. Survivors brought accounts of bunkers transformed into death traps. Lieutenant General Tadamaki Kurabayashi, commander of Iwo Jima's defense, sent a final message to Tokyo on March 15, 1945. The message, intercepted by American Signals Intelligence and archived at the National Archives, contained a stark warning. American flamethrower weapons have made concrete fortifications untenable. All existing defensive doctrine must be reconsidered. The enemy has found a method to turn our strength into weakness. Current bunker specifications will result in catastrophic casualties without inflicting equivalent enemy losses. But what General Kurabayashi could not yet fully grasp was that the flamethrower revolution represented more than a tactical problem. It represented a fundamental mismatch between Japanese defensive philosophy and American technological capabilities. The question facing Japanese forces was not merely tactical. It was existential. If the bunkers that were supposed to be impregnable had become death traps, if the tactical doctrine taught as sacred truth had proven catastrophically wrong, what else might be false? These questions would haunt Japanese defenders as the war ground toward its conclusion. The revelation had occurred. The tactical foundation had cracked. But the full scope of what their commanders had failed to understand had yet to fully unfold. April 1, 1945. Okinawa, Ryukyu Islands. Lieutenant Masato Fujiwara stood inside Fortification Zone 7B, known to his men as the Dragon's Teeth, a network of interconnected bunkers carved into the limestone ridges of Shuri Castle's outer defenses. The position represented the pinnacle of Japanese defensive engineering, incorporating every lesson learned from Iwo Jima. Reinforced concrete walls 4 feet thick. Multiple ventilation shafts with blast deflection baffles. Interconnected tunnels allowing tactical withdrawal. Emergency exits concealed in 3 directions. Fujiwara had studied the reports from Iwo Jima. He knew about the American flamethrowers. And unlike many officers who dismissed the disaster as the result of inferior construction, Fujiwara understood the terrible truth: the weapon itself had fundamentally changed the equation of bunker warfare. But understanding the problem and solving it were entirely different matters. Lieutenant Fujiwara's diary, recovered after the battle by Army historian Captain Donald Mitchell and now housed at the U.S. Army Military History Institute, documented his growing sense of doom. April 28, 1945. We have implemented every recommended modification. Water barrels positioned at entrance passages. Ventilation shutters installed on all air shafts. Fire blankets distributed to each section. My men believe these measures will protect them. I have not told them what I truly believe, that we are simply making our tomb more elaborate. The Americans are coming. And when their flame weapons reach us, all our preparations will prove meaningless. The tactical evolution. By the time American forces landed on Okinawa, the U.S. Marine Corps and Army had refined flamethrower tactics into a standardized, systematic approach. According to the Field Manual Employment of Flamethrower Units in Pacific Operations, published by Headquarters, 10th Army in May 1945 and archived at the Combined Arms Research Library at Fort Leavenworth, American commanders had developed detailed procedures for bunker assault. The standard assault protocol involved a 6-man team, 2 flamethrower operators, 2 riflemen for close support, 1 demolition specialist, and 1 squad leader. The approach followed a precise sequence: reconnaissance to identify firing ports and exits, suppressive fire to pin defenders, flamethrower operators advancing to optimal range, sustained flame discharge at entrances and ports, secondary flame application to ventilation shafts, and final infantry assault to confirm neutralization. The entire sequence, from initial approach to confirmed bunker neutralization, averaged 4 to 6 minutes. Corporal Vincent DeLuca, a flamethrower operator with the 1st Marine Division who participated in 47 bunker assaults during Okinawa, provided an oral history interview in 1987. By Okinawa, we had it down to a science. The Japs kept trying new things: water traps at the entrances, extra ventilation, deeper tunnels. Didn't matter. The physics were against them. You pump 15 seconds of napalm flame into a sealed concrete box, everyone inside dies. Period. We weren't fighting soldiers anymore. We were exterminating bunkers. The deeper horror. What Lieutenant Fujiwara and Japanese defenders discovered was that their countermeasures not only failed, they made things worse. The water-jacketed entrance passages designed to absorb flame created superheated steam when napalm contacted water. According to post-battle technical analysis by Dr. Robert Harrison of the Army Chemical Corps, documented in Report CWS 45-089, this steam proved as lethal as the flame itself. Dr. Harrison's report stated, when napalm flame at 2000 plus degrees contacts water barriers, instantaneous steam generation occurs. In confined spaces, this steam reaches 400 to 600 degrees Fahrenheit. Personnel inhaling superheated steam suffer immediate respiratory tract burns. Survival time, 30 to 60 seconds. The defensive measure designed to stop flames instead created an additional killing mechanism. The emergency ventilation closures proved equally counterproductive. Designed to seal off sections exposed to flame, these shutters trapped toxic gases in occupied chambers. Japanese soldiers in bunkers with closure systems showed higher rates of carbon monoxide poisoning than those with standard ventilation. Private First Class Ichiro Tanaka, one of only 17 survivors from the Shuri Castle complex, provided testimony on June 15, 1945. The interrogation transcript captured the countermeasures' failure. We had been told the water barriers would stop the flames. When the Americans attacked, we activated the water system. The flame touched the water and there was violent steam. It filled the entrance tunnel in seconds. The men stationed there began screaming. Different screams. The steam had burned their lungs. They could not breathe. The section commander ordered ventilation shutters closed to prevent smoke entering the main chamber. But the shutters also prevented steam from escaping. The temperature rose until concrete walls were too hot to touch. The men there died within a minute. Then the Americans put flamethrower firing ports. Our improved design, extended ports to keep flame farther away, only created channels that directed fire deeper into the bunker. The flame traveled along the extended port like water through a pipe. It reached 10 meters into our position. We ran for emergency exits. But the Americans were waiting at the exit points with more flame weapons. When we opened the concealed door, flame poured in from outside. We were trapped between two fires. I survived only because I found a small maintenance crawlspace the Americans didn't discover. I hid there for 6 hours while my comrades died around me. 43 men. The bunker that was supposed to be improved just killed us more efficiently. The psychological collapse. By late May 1945, the psychological impact of flamethrower warfare had become as devastating as its physical effects. Japanese soldiers faced a crisis that transcended tactics. Their most fundamental defensive doctrine had been proven worthless. According to captured documents from 32nd Army Headquarters, catalogued as Addis Report 18 to 3945, Japanese command issued increasingly desperate directives. A directive dated May 18, 1945, ordered, all personnel will maintain fighting positions within fortifications regardless of flame attack. Withdrawal to escape flame weapons is forbidden. Death in position is preferable to tactical retreat. The order acknowledged reality brutally. Since there was no effective defense, soldiers were ordered to die in place rather than abandon positions that had become death traps. Sergeant Yoshio Matsuda, captured on June 2, 1945, described the psychological impact during interrogation. We knew we were dead the moment we saw flame weapons approaching. Not might die. Knew we were dead. Certain death. The bunker that was supposed to protect us had become our coffin. We could try to run, but Americans covered the exits. How do you fight fire? Some men chose to die by their own hand rather than wait for the flames. The flame death is, there are no words. You cannot breathe. You cannot see. The heat is everywhere. Your lungs burn from the inside. It takes minutes. Minutes that feel like hours. The worst part was knowing everything we had been taught was a lie. The bunkers were supposed to be impregnable. They were not. If High Command was wrong about this, about the fundamental basis of our defensive strategy, what else were they wrong about? Why were we dying for tactics that did not work? The statistical devastation. By the Battle of Okinawa's end on June 22, 1945, the statistical evidence had become overwhelming. According to 10th Army's final battle report, Ryukyu's campaign, Analysis of Operations, flamethrower units had neutralized 2,347 fortified positions during the 82-day campaign. The statistics were devastating. Total Japanese bunker casualties, flame attacked 18,634 killed. Survival rate in flame-attacked bunkers, 0.7%. Average time to position neutralization, 3.2 minutes. American casualties per bunker assault, 1.1 killed/wounded. Bunker positions successfully defended against flamethrowers, 0. Not a single bunker successfully defended against a proper flamethrower assault. The defensive tactic that was supposed to be Japan's cornerstone had achieved a 100% failure rate. Medical analysis provided equally damning evidence. Dr. Margaret Sullivan's report, Thermal Weapon Casualties, Medical Analysis of Okinawa Campaign, documented cause of death patterns. Direct flame contact, 8.3%. Asphyxiation, 37.2%. Carbon monoxide poisoning, 41.5%. Thermal inhalation injury, 9.8%. Superheated steam, 3.2%. Dr. Sullivan's conclusion, the flamethrower's lethality derives from converting fortifications into gas chambers. Japanese defensive engineering inadvertently optimized bunker design for exactly this attack, sealed spaces with limited ventilation. They built perfect killing chambers and then occupied them. The final assessment. On July 8, 1945, the Imperial General Staff convened to assess defensive doctrine. Minutes from this meeting, preserved at the National Diet Library, reveal a command finally confronting their tactical failure. General Yoshijiro Umezu stated, "The American flamethrower has rendered our entire defensive doctrine obsolete. Every fortification we have constructed has become a liability. We have no effective countermeasure. The implications for homeland defense are catastrophic." Lieutenant Colonel Hideki Tojo Jr. provided devastating analysis. Our casualties in bunker positions exceed 45,000 killed. Survival rate, less than 1%. Time required for enemy to neutralize positions we spent months constructing, 3 minutes. The bunker program has not defended our positions. It has concentrated our forces where they can be systematically exterminated. We have built elaborate tombs and ordered our soldiers to occupy them. The broader lesson and legacy. According to final Allied casualty analyses, flame weapons accounted for approximately 47,000 Japanese military deaths across the Pacific, roughly equivalent to Nagasaki's immediate atomic bomb toll. But the flamethrower's significance extended beyond body count. It represented a fundamental principle: technological innovation could render established tactics obsolete overnight, and rigid adherence to doctrine in the face of change guaranteed defeat. In 1987, 17 survivors of flamethrower attacks gathered in Tokyo. Sergeant Takeo Yamashita, who survived Okinawa despite 3 separate bunker assaults, provided closing remarks. "We entered the war believing we were invincible, that our bunkers were impregnable. The flamethrower taught us otherwise. It taught us that courage without wisdom is suicide. That following flawed doctrine is not loyalty but foolishness. The Americans didn't defeat us through cruelty. They defeated us through competence. They identified our strategy, developed an effective counter, and applied it systematically. We responded with minor modifications to fundamentally broken tactics. The flamethrower didn't just burn through concrete and flesh. It burned through the lies we had been told. It forced us to see that we were not invincible, that our leaders were not infallible, that dying in hopeless positions for obsolete tactics was not glorious sacrifice but senseless waste. The Americans never knew what they really hit us with. They thought they were attacking bunkers. They were actually attacking our faith in the system that had led us to war. And in that battle, the flamethrower proved more devastating than any bomb. The lesson transcended the specific technology. The flamethrower episode demonstrated that rigid adherence to doctrine, failure to question assumptions, and inability to adapt were more dangerous than any enemy weapon. The Japanese had built perfect fortresses for a war that no longer existed. By the time they realized their error, the bunkers they had trusted had become monuments to tactical obsolescence, concrete tombs filled with soldiers who died not from lack of courage, but from commands that sent them into death traps while calling them defensive positions. The flamethrower taught a brutal lesson: in modern warfare, yesterday's strength becomes tomorrow's vulnerability the moment technology changes the equation. Those who fail to recognize this truth don't just lose battles. They lose entire wars, one bunker at a time.